Hey everybody, hope you're doing well, having a great day, great night, wherever you guys are. Welcome back to another episode of CSGO News, and for our first big story for all of you, we do retouch on the Gambit Gaming organization situation. If you guys do not remember, a couple days ago, I did touch on this with an entire video about this. The allegation is towards this man on screen for all of you. That is Saga, the current organization's coach. Primarily, he actually coaches the academy roster for the team. As of right now, this point in time, the team has no academy roster because of the 5 members they used to have. 4 of those 5 members did leave because apparently, allegedly, they received verbal threats and several other forms of mistreatment from that coach. I'll show him again for all of you guys. And on top of this, he also allegedly did physically abuse the team's manager and editor, Yegor. Now, on top of this, I want to touch on the fact that Gambit Gaming has finally responded to my tweets. Thank you to all of you guys who supported those tweets, and they responded with this. So for all of you who are expecting a response sometime soon from Gambit Gaming, they should have a management response of the situation sometime soon in the next week or so. Now, for my personal experience, touching on another side of this story, I actually reached out to former Gambit members. One of them did respond. That was Hooch on screen for all of you guys. He did respond, and in fact, he did say he has never had any mistreatment by this man Saga, never had any problems with him either, and he knows none of his current teammates ever did either. So we can actually assume as of right now, for main roster players, obviously Hooch is on the main roster, never an academy roster, it does seem as of right now there have been no main roster members who have had any troubles with Saga as a coach, but it does seem the academy roster had something else to say. So we'll find out hopefully sometime soon in the next week what the actual problems were, and hopefully Gambit Gaming actually shares their side of the story on what actually did happen. And next up for all of you, yes, time markers are down below, guys, because this next one's going to be all the definition and the spoilers for ESL Pro League Finals. I'm going to talk about all 6 teams from both European and North American sides, so it's probably going to be a longer segment for all of you. But first off, touching on the more important side, the European side of the ESL Pro League Finals is going to be coming up here for Season 5. Actually, there's 6 European teams going through on screen for all of you. Surprisingly enough, not doing too well on LAN events so far this year, but no, North did take our #1 seed. They were followed closely by G2. G2 played so well yesterday, and of course, they actually did start out 1-8 to start the league, and they've closed out so strong, taking our #2 overall seed, and they did manage a 2-0 FaZe Clan last night as well, pushing FaZe Clan to the brink of this 6th place spot, and they actually had to depend on Na'Vi losing Heroic. Na'Vi did not fall to Heroic. It actually went to a triple overtime match versus them, and Na'Vi did take the win and the 6th place spot strictly by round win advantage. They did actually outbeat FaZe Clan by a few rounds, as well as Astralis. Astralis managed to actually get their spot taken away as well by Envious. Envious taking that 5th place spot after they 2-0'd Astralis, and a lot of shifts and changes there. You guys probably heard about that if you were watching the streams last night. There were a good 3 or 4 streams for ESL Pro League matches going on last night alone, and in the European side of things, everything being so close, there were, I believe, 35 combinations of teams who could go through, but those are your 6 teams going through, guys. We do have North, G2, alongside Fnatic, Mouse Sports, Envious, and Na'Vi taking your final spots, guys, and those are your 6 European teams going through. Yes, it was actually a big surprise. Astralis getting 2-0'd and FaZe Clan getting 2-0'd. Those are the reasons why those top two teams and the top 5 teams in the world will not be going through to the ESL Pro League Finals. And over in the North American standings are 6 teams to go through on screen for all of you. No surprise at all, SK Gaming took our #1 by far and away, and I mean it this time, by far and away the #1 spot, even though they did fall 0-2 to CLG last night, and they did not play too well. They did certify themselves as the #1 team for the North American side. They're going to be followed closely by Team Liquid and also Team Immortals. That's your 2nd Brazilian team going through already in our top 3, and we almost had a chance for 3 Brazilian teams to take 3 of the 6 spots, but just fell quite short of that. I'll touch on that in a little bit here, guys. #4 seed did go to Team NRG. Now, NRG kind of one of those teams who surprised a lot of people. They had a very evenly and very consistent spread out season. They couldn't really, they didn't finish out much stronger than they started. They had a very spread out season and actually managed to split a series with Cloud9 last night to certify the #4 spot, and Cloud9 taking that #5 spot, as well as Optic finishing out the 6th place spot just barely. Then the last few weeks they had to 2-0 a lot of teams, and including last night they actually had to 2-0 Complexity, managed not to do that. They split the series with Complexity, meaning they actually had to rely on Liquid to 2-0 Luminosity Gaming. Now, if Luminosity Gaming did not get 2-0'd, they would be your 3rd Brazilian team going through, but Liquid, in surprising, of course, North American fashion, they actually 2-0'd Luminosity, and yes, it was Optic Gaming because of that, grabbing that last 6th place spot going through. Now, going forward for all of you, we actually had one of North's management members and staff members put this on screen for all of you, the groups for the ESL Pro League Finals, based off how the actual ESL system does work. Now, going off this as well, ESL did mess up on their websites, the rankings for the European side, like I touched on earlier. Na'Vi apparently actually did get 5th place, and it was Envious who received 6th place. So on screen right now for all of you, I'll keep this tweet up for you guys. These will be our groups for Group A and B for the ESL Pro League Finals, but for these groups, which do seem kind of lopsided as of right now, Group B seems a lot easier, a little bit easier than Group A. Switch Na'Vi and Envious in those groups, and those should be our ESL Pro League Finals groups on screen for all of you. So it does seem the groups, although no matter what we had, guys, no matter what team and group that team like Energy was probably going to be in, we're probably going to have complaints about these groups not being so evenly spread. It's very, very hard to evenly spread these groups out, especially the North American side of things. There was never going to be a perfect group, but those will be our groups for ESL Pro League Finals. And I told you all this would be a really long segment. Lastly, for ESL Pro League Season 6, that is next season coming up, guys, we do a relegation match between 4 teams for European side as well as 4 teams for the North American side. More importantly, though, for the European side, the Hellraisers and Virtus Pro, unfortunately enough, could not battle off relegation matches. They will face off against teams like Penta and Big. Those 4 teams will compete for the last 2 spots for Season 6 of ESL Pro League. Now, in kind of a disappointing news for North American side of ESL Pro League, we've had a lot of comments so far on the fact that North American ESL Pro League does not deserve 6 spots in the finals, and this is actually going to concur with that because for our relegation matches, we have these 4 teams on screen. This is, yes, 2 of these teams are guaranteed spots in next season of North American ESL Pro League. We have teams like Enigma 6 alongside the Foundation as well as Rush, and of course our last team, Ghost. Team Ghost for the North American side. 2 of these teams will fight out for the spots for Season 6 of ESL Pro League. Now, I do agree these teams have fought their way through the Premier and of course earned their way to ESL Pro League for the North American side, but this will ensure for the future that North American ESL Pro League standings will never reach the power and the talent that European sides have, at least in the next coming years, and this will guarantee for the next few years we will always have the bottom half of the North American side having a few teams with 3 wins, 2 wins, or less for them. Now, also bouncing off that, guys, more importantly, news for all of you guys who feel bad for the ex-Winter Fox squad. I touched on this about a week ago. The ex-Winter Fox squad, under the command of Brian Cordry, their owner, this owner actually disbanded the team. He left them without 2 months' pay and left them disbanded, and of course, without visas to return to America, he left them alone in Australia. They are currently still there, at least we believe so, and they were actually forced to forfeit the remainder of their matches for ESL Pro League. Now, on top of this, because they had already used their 2 forfeits earlier in the season, they were also disqualified from ESL Pro League and forced to return all of their earnings for the Pro League itself. That accumulates to, I believe, about $4,000 for the team. Now, although that does not seem a lot of money to all of you guys, to this team who's been through a lot of struggles, especially the past few months, their own owner disbanded the team and left them alone in Australia. They have gone through so much hardship, and now to have their prize pool earnings actually taken from them, you got to feel bad for this team. That is ex-Winter Fox squad, also known as Animal Squad, and they are now totally disbanded, and yes, they've been disqualified officially from ESL Pro League. And for any of you Optic fans who do follow Mixwell on Instagram, he did release this picture on screen for all of you a couple weeks ago, and this actually was his earnings for the year or the last year or so with Optic Gaming. He had now become the #1 overall Spanish earner for all of esports players. Now, this does, from my knowledge, not include salary as well as bonuses. On top of that, sponsorships, which we all know Optic Gaming has plenty of. But yes, in his short stint so far in his pro career for CSGO, Mixwell has already become the #1 Spanish esports player overall earner so far from prize pool earnings in the entire world. That is absolutely insane to say. Within a year or so, he has already become the #1 top earner for all Spanish players. That is so cool to see. And I'm sure a lot of you have already heard about this, but for our CIS news for all of you, yes, Starix, yes, that's former Navi coach, has now returned to actually be a player for the game of CSGO for a team not many people actually expected to see, a CIS team known as Team Spirit. We heard about them last summer. I talked about them and a lot of CIS and lower tier teams last summer, and they are now back with their player in this roster on screen out for all of you. That will be Starix included in that roster. Going to be cool to see him actually come back to play and see how he does, see if he's an IGO for the team, and see how they improve as a roster altogether. On top of this, more important news for all of you as well, we actually had MoTV announce this on Twitter. He actually blocked me on Twitter, but I thought it was cool news to share with all of you. Had a buddy of mine, Gamertag, also screenshot that. He actually had his own baby girl. So congratulations to MoTV on your new baby, and best of luck to supporting her in the future. I'm sure you have enough money to do that. Now, on top of that, we also had Maikelele release this on Twitter as well. His life story, his story between all the teams he's actually played for in the past year and a half, which amounts to so many teams, 5+ teams, NIP, Kingwin, FaZe. Now we have Dignitas, now ex-Dignitas, ESG, so many rosters that he played for, and it seems that he's really struggling, especially the fact that we actually had the PGL minor qualifier for Europe. That was the #3 of the 4 qualifiers they have, and his team, Team ESG, actually faced off against Team Dignitas and managed to get swept 2-0 by Dignitas. Dignitas actually in their roster went on to qualify for that minor qualifier, and now Maikelele and his Team ESG have one more shot at that. I do really feel bad for the guy. He's gone through so much change and hardship these past few months, and if you guys want to see that tweet, that will be linked down below for all of you. And that's all I really have for you guys for today's episode of CSGO News. I will be out of town tomorrow and releasing Steam Stories #2, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the great support on that series, and I promise you, everyone who is watching right now, tomorrow at this time you guys are watching this video, I will have Steam Stories #2 uploaded, and it is one of the more funny videos I have ever had on this channel, and I hope you guys all support that. It was absolutely amazing to make the actual episode, and I hope you guys all enjoy. I will be back Sunday with more CSGO News. Hope you guys all enjoyed this episode. As always, I'm having a lazy day. Please comment down below. I'll reply to as many comments as possible. Thank you all for the great support. I seriously cannot thank you guys enough for that. As always, live, love, laugh. laugh a lot. I will see you guys all tomorrow and Sunday with more videos. Remember, I like you. Bye.